And also submit your questions for Kim. Watch United Network at home or on the go through your computer, favorite online streaming program, or mobile apps.
Welcome to United Network News.
Start your free trial today. UnitedNetwork.Earth, bringing people together.
And now, the World Situation Report with Kimberly Gogan from the Office of the Guardian. The solar eclipse completed its path today. Find out what did happen and what did not. Why is everyone hunting for the golden chalice, also known as the Holy Grail? Find out more in today's World Situation Report.
Now here's Kimberly Gogan with the Office of the Guardian. Hey, Kim, happy Eclipse Day.
Happy Eclipse Day. I see you didn't spontaneously erupt either.
No, I did not.
I know. Isn't that cool?
They said we were going to.
I know. Earthquakes, devastation. The good people of the military are going to come save you and bring you food, and water. Yeah, that didn't happen, did it?
No, it did not.
You know, I know this blonde lady that said nothing was going to happen, but, you know.
Yeah. But they still have to get the fear out there, you know, do their job.
I know. God bless them.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a momentous day, though. I did talk a little bit briefly about new beginnings that were going to happen today during the time of the eclipse. Now, let's talk about why we have a new beginning today, more importantly. So one thing that how do I say this? That I can't say you should or you need to, but there's one thing that I personally understand is that a covenant from source is something that only the person or party, being, group, that makes the covenant with source, only the two of them can decide together to break it.
Okay.
Now, in the absence of a counterparty to break a covenant, then only source can break a covenant. Now, when source gives his word for something, and we've talked about this before, he usually maintains that word till the very end. So therefore, the likelihood of source breaking a covenant unto itself is, I don't think I've seen it happen just yet.
Okay.
Now, everything that we've been working on for the last couple of years pretty much came to fruition today, and there's a reason for it. So here on Earth, in Earth time, for lack of a better term, because time is funny. When I say time to some folk, they laugh. 3,296,000,000 years ago is when the Dark Age began here. And there was ancillary covenants to beginning the Dark Age, ending the Dark Age, moving into the Golden Age that did not actually expire until today. So one of those covenants, this is where religion, science, and source, and New Age movements, and all of these things kind of come together in full circle. So 2016 years ago today is when the covenant was made between, I guess you would say, the being that at that time brought what we call the golden chalice, and I'll explain that a little bit more, to Earth. We all know that being is written in many different religious texts as Jesus and meant by many other names.
Okay.
Now, that binding that bound the chalice to Earth, and I'll go into that in a minute here, happened, and it lasted for 2016 years. Now, we hear about the hunt for the gold, the Holy Grail, and trying to claim the golden chalice, and everybody's been looking for it, but nobody can allegedly find it. Now, part of the reason why this is so important for those people is because the golden chalice represents the soul of source here on Earth. And it's not, I mean, could it be an actual item? Yes, it's an actual item to some degree, but it represents the overflowing creation of the Creator throughout the multiverse on the light side of Source. Now, the chalice had been repeatedly bound by the dark side, which means it binds the soul of Source to the dark soul of Source or anti-Source once again. And this would happen repeatedly throughout human history, throughout the Dark Age. This time, things happened a little differently. So the chalice was a physical item that was actually located here on Earth under the Mount of Olives.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, did it actually look like a cup?
It actually looked somewhat like a chalice, I guess you would say. It looked
like a fancy cup?
It didn't have all the bells and whistles on it. There was, it was just pure gold. It didn't have all the gemstones as they claim throughout religious history.
Okay.
It was just gold,
okay.
Pure gold, just like the veins of gold that are in the Tree of Life, as an example, just like the golden flowers of life and essence and energy, just like the golden crystal flowers that hold the essence of the golden age, as an example, is what it looked like.
Okay.
So Source's ultimate goal, was to regain that part of himself, that his soul, so to speak, and no longer be bound to darkness forevermore. And that was part of the covenant that happened with the death of the Christ or the Christ here on earth. So today was the only day that could be done. So the reclaiming of the chalice could happen today. Now, on the other side's part, I don't think on that level they really knew what this means or what could happen. From what I could gather from listening to meetings over the weekend, over the last several days, is they were expecting that there would be earthquakes, lots of earthquakes, death, destruction, the end of the world as we know it, that kind of thing. And the death would appease the gods, the ones they call the gods. We call them here Abraxas. We call them Draco. We call them fallen angels. That's what we call their version of the gods as written in their texts. We identify this as a being that is not a god by any stretch of the imagination, but they have the things that they worship and all of that. So if that had been renewed, it would have given equal amounts of power to both sides. And it could have been an opportunity to go back to a neutral age, but most dark beings don't understand what it means to not be in power.
Yeah.
Therefore, the GOLD agreement, when he decided to pull the plug a little over 2 years ago now. So that meant that when this covenant finally came up for renewal, so to speak, it was not going to be renewed. So we can say we knew at that time we had already won.
Right.
We were fighting with Source. We were partners, so to speak. We were, and when I say we, I'm not just talking about myself. I'm talking about a lot of you that came here for this time. Maybe you still talk to people from your home. Maybe you still, some do, some don't. Maybe you're just kind of starting to wake up to that connection. But you're here for a reason if you're fighting on the light side. And there's a lot of people doing this. There's a lot of people clearing darkness, trying to make way for, I guess you would say golden age, a time with no darkness, no binding of organic life on this planet or this planet itself to darkness in any way. we don't, at least I can speak for myself, some things are not said. Some things are not told until it's the exact right time.
Mm-hmm.
And that right time apparently was at 2:00 this morning, my time, apparently. That was the right time to tell me.
Okay.
And there was a lot of work that went in today, and there were still some mechanisms here that were anchoring darkness to this planet. And sometimes, as I've told you in the past, I get woken up with a song.
Yeah.
And it's like that blaring alarm where it just goes off and the song starts playing, if you have a song that is your alarm. So today's song was Holiday by Madonna. Oh, dear God. The eternal wedding song that never goes away. You could go to a wedding 50 years from now, and that song will be the one that indicates it's now time for everybody to dance.
That's right.
And it doesn't matter what country you're in, mostly. If you have dancing, that song is the song.
Yeah.
So, there was a part of the song that says, there's going to be a celebration all around the world in every nation.
Yeah.
And to source, apparently that means that we are going to celebrate all around the world today. Mm-hmm. But for Kim, that meant you are going to remove all the anchors of darkness in the following locations.
Which leads to everyone celebrating.
Which leads to eventually getting the chalice, right?
And the holiday.
And the holiday, yeah. The holiday, still waiting for the holiday. Still waiting for the holiday.
Yeah.
But I thought I would give this information to you anyway, because it could be relevant to some of you, places that maybe you've visited before or you want to visit, around the world. But now you can go visit because it's no longer an anchor for darkness.
Okay.
So location number 1, the Grand Canyon. Location number 2, the Marble Caves in Patagonia, where we actually met some of the SSP persons today that are no longer with us. Goodbye. Mm-hmm. Sacred Valley in Peru. The Rose Garden in Versailles. Oh, boy. The Chephren Pyramid, also known as the Khafre Pyramid in Egypt. The Bermuda Triangle.
No surprise.
Mm-hmm. I know, that's a surprise. With anchors in Miami, Florida, San Juan, Puerto Rico, and the Cathedral of the Most Holy in Bermuda. So that was the 3 anchors for what was underneath there. And we could go into detail about the space junk that's underneath there, but we're not. I mean, you don't really want to hear it, and we only have so much time. So the Church of Santa Maria Santo in Positano, Italy. The Spanish Stonehenge, known as the Dolmen of Guadalperel. Oof, say that 3 times fast. In Spain. Basically everything that is known as a temple of the sun on planet Earth. You name the location where there is a temple of the sun, and we were there today. Wow. Tons of them in India. Obviously, we have some in Mexico. There's some in China. So they're all over the world. So if you just look up all of the sun temples or sun pyramids of the world, and now you'll have the laundry list of the places that we were there. Okay, the Sacred Gardens of the Inca Trail in Peru. Here's another one for you. You're going to love this one. Mar-a-Lago, Florida.
No, for heaven's sakes.
Oh, Lord, help us all.
Now we know why the whole Trump crew wanted Mar-a-Lago.
Oh, Washington, D.C. was in there, too, in the list.
Geez.
It was basically the entire area around the White House. And it kind of made me wonder there, because some of the things that we found, including in Washington, D.C., were actually the books of death. So, we talk in the Bible talks about, a lot of religious texts talk about the books of life.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's the opposite, books of death, right? That's matter and antimatter. And it started me thinking about, I got this like flash of when they take the oath, when a president of the United States takes an oath.
Oh, yeah.
What book is that anyway?
Well, from what I've seen, because they made a big deal about this when Biden swore in, because it was a huge, ancient looking book. And there were even reports that there were upside down crosses and really weird things on it. Doesn't it depend? Can't the president-elect choose? Are you talking about the main swearing in Bible or whatever that is that they swear on? Because I thought it changed.
I kind of wonder. I don't know. I wonder if the cover really, the aesthetics of it really matter as much as to what who they're actually, or what they're actually trying to swear an oath to there.
Well, absolutely. Yeah.
And I kind of wonder. And if the base root of that is true, and what we found in Washington, D.C. and underneath the White House and around that whole area, and if that is true, then, I kind of wonder, the leader of the alleged free world, right? What is inside there, regardless of the pretty binding cover and box and whatever else that's in there. So,
Kim, this is a while ago now, shortly after Biden took office, I believe. But there was a lot of stuff happening at the White House. At least we saw photos of them digging and doing weird things and putting up barriers so people couldn't see. Do you know if any of that is connected to some of the stuff you found today, them digging and, because you said it was under the White House?
Could be. I mean, there was a lot of stuff under Washington, D.C. in varying phases that we found. But sometimes we'll go to a location and we cannot detect, for example, what we found today under D.C., the last time we were cleaning out things under D.C. Mm-hmm. And part of that is because, and in my opinion, is that this is like diffusing a bomb, and we have limited knowledge. Even the ones that have the books and, that come from their alleged gods and so on and so forth, we don't have all the information. And if you are trying to defuse a bomb and you don't have all of the information, you could make a mistake and do something incorrect. So I think that things are cloaked by source itself. When it's time, then it's time to find all of the things.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
But that thought did cross my mind, when I found those books underneath there. I was like, wonder what that book is that they use, or what it's supposed to symbolize anyway. Okay. Next, the Tercentennial Labyrinth in Glastonbury, UK. Mount Shasta. Big surprise there. Not. Again, I went to Mount Shasta several times this weekend, actually. Also went to the Vatican several times recently, but back there again. The Dashur Pyramid. It's spelled Dahshur. The Angkor Wat Temple in Cambodia, spelled I think it's Angkorwat, and it's 3 separate words. And then we were at the Pyramid of the Sun and the Moon, and Teotihuacan. I always say this word wrong. In Mexico, but it's Teotihuacan or something like that. Is the name of the city. I tell you, even if I learn every Spanish word, and I mean no disrespect to our Spanish-speaking people, but, I just didn't get the roll of the R's. And
yeah.
The Tiete volcano in the Canary Islands in Spain, spelled Tiede. The Lempuyang Temple in Bali. The Guimar Pyramid in the Canary Islands in Spain. Pyramids of Giza, all of them.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. The Sun Pyramid in Bosnia. There's also a Pyramid of the Moon and one other that are there as well. The Lion Monument in Lucerne, Switzerland. The Temple of Aphrodite in Rhodes, Greece. We were at more than one dragon temple today. The one in Thailand is actually very interesting. You should look it up. It looks like a giant serpent going around a building. Yeah. And then the second one was actually in China, and it was called the Baipu Temple, Baipu, also known as the White Waterfall Temple. The Ganges River in India. Mount Fuji in Japan. The Knight's Stone in Kilmore Cemetery on the island of Scotland. We already talked about Washington, D.C. In Shaftesbury, England, we have the Abbey of St. Edward. Mount Agung in Bali, in Indonesia. The Hercules Caves in Morocco. Mount Sinai in Egypt. Now that's an interesting one from a biblical standpoint. The Nazca Desert. Moray in Peru. There's also the Mykonos Pyramid in Cairo. The Round Pyramid. Oh, can I say, here we go with another Spanish word. The Guachimontones Round Pyramid in Jalisco, Mexico. We went also to the Gobi Desert. There was a couple of locations there, nondescript, nothing else there except for what we were looking for. Machu Picchu, again. The Fanjianshan temples in China, which are the ones on that high mountain we showed you one time. Antarctica again. Never run out of things in Antarctica.
No.
So there is also an Ararat Lookout in Pennsylvania, believe it or not.
In the state of Pennsylvania? In the U.S.?
In the state of Pennsylvania, yes. It's called the Ararat Lookout or Mount Ararat. Yeah, in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Yeah. Got to take all the religious things, name them something, and throw some space junk underneath there and let her rip.
So. Yeah.
The Kata Tihuta in Australia, it's spelled Kata, and then there's a second word is Tjuta. So just to spell it out for you. I think it's also called Mount Olga was the other name for it.
Oh, that's easier to say.
Yeah, interesting places to look up. And then there are some stones also called the Whispering Knights. You can look those up. We were back at Lake Titicaca in Bolivia, under the Strait of Gibraltar. Obviously, the Mount of Olives, which we talked about. Mm-hmm. And then there were some connections to a few other pyramid sites, but that was mainly coming from elsewhere. So we didn't really go to those particular locations. So a lot of places today, but these were formerly locations that you could say that actually bound darkness in combination with the chalice and bound the light and dark, not only here on Earth, but for the multiverse, because we are a nexus planet and a gateway planet.
Right. Okay.
So just a bit of interesting information about what they thought was going to happen versus what we woke up at 2:00 this morning, ready for action. Where are we going today?
Right.
So was there a celebration all around the world? I guess for some people, unless you're the party planner, right? Maybe the party planner's all excited about having a party. You're the host of the party, but we're the people that ended up working in the kitchen. I'm not sure how that worked out, but I did. I feel like the caterer now, and I'm exhausted, and I want to go home.
So when you said you went to those locations, where were there? I know you said that you did find SSP.
Mm-hmm.
More than one location were they at?
Yeah, we found them also at we found them at the caves in Peru. Patagonia. The Marble Caves is where we found them. I know there. I'm trying to remember the other. Obviously, Mar-a-Lago, that's a given. You always find SSP operatives, Trump people playing the role of Trump in Florida. Mount Shasta, definitely found some people there. I don't remember them being anywhere else because it was only like 2 or 3. Obviously, they're in Washington, D.C. That's a given.
Yeah.
Mining for gold there.
Yeah. What were they doing? What were they doing in these locations?
Seeing if they could make sure that these things worked. I don't know. Apparently. Trying to cause earthquakes, appease the gods so that they can get some power back. You know, it's been a couple of years since they picked sides. It's too late now, and they want to turn back. So from here on out, we don't have any anchors of darkness, as I understand it. So this is my current understanding, and you're hearing it as I'm learning it. So here on Earth, which then allows for source not to be anchored to anti-source anymore. Therefore, you would say that as of today, even though we really don't have anti-source anymore, you would say the binding to creation, the way of creation utilizing both dark and light ended today for source. Therefore, you could actually say that the war of the gods is over. That kind of makes sense?
It does. We've talked about neutral source before. What does that mean for neutral source? Just we just have the one source now, the positive.
We when this is finished, because it'll take time to complete, but yes, we will have the one source only. Only one source of all creation, no longer needing any remnants of darkness to create.
Right.
So even though the ultimate source of darkness maybe is no longer with us, that doesn't mean there wasn't still a reason for some darkness to exist in order for the Creator to create for a time.
Yeah.
Until the end of the covenant.
Which was today at 2 a.m. your time.
Today. Well, that's when it started. It officially ended at 4:06 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay.
That was when the window closed.
Okay.
Yep. Now, over the weekend, it was quite an interesting weekend for me. They would go from place to place all weekend long, trying to use my essence to open gateways and portals. Because they had come to the realization that I am the gatekeeper. So they figured they could just, it's kind of like you see those movies sometimes where you put they put their hand on the pad and then it opens the door or something. Well, this is a little bit more intricate and intimate way of doing such a thing. But in the movies, sometimes you'll see them, brutally cut off the person's hand and stick it on the keypad or something. And even though they have essence to do that or have taken my essence to do that kind of thing, it doesn't mean that it's still, it's not going to register the essence the same way as if it's living essence within my person, in my vessel.
Right.
So this happened continuously throughout the weekend. It wasn't just the events on Thursday and Friday of last week. It also continued to happen in various locations around the world all weekend long. They were preparing, and all the hubbub, about this eclipse and states of emergency and all of these types of things were coming from some old books of knowledge that they thought that they were going to create earthquakes all these things. Death and destruction was going to happen when anti-source was allowed to recreate on this planet, and the gods would come back, aka the Abraxas or whomever they were waiting to come back, and life for them was going to be just great, and they would be back in charge again.
Yeah.
just like they allegedly were 2016 years ago. Now, to be fair, in all that time, going back billions of years, they never lost.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't the humans, really. They were just a byproduct. They were just lower level management staff that reaped the rewards of the war between the gods, so to speak, or the war between the angels, or the war between, both sides fought with everything they had at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But, like you say, sometimes timing is everything. We want things when we want things, and we want things to move when we want things to move. But that doesn't mean that it moves when we want it to move. Now, this should actually help us get over the last and final humps as well once the integration is complete with the transference of funds, because we are transferring funds into a light-dark system, and the dark still wants to bind to the light, and therefore creation of only light, in my opinion, for what it's worth, and in others' opinions, is the reason why we have had such a difficult time.
Now, when you say others, are you talking about other beings that are here to help us?
Yeah, because we have a lot of people here, as you know, right now for this time. Helping, anchoring, especially due to the importance, which they understood probably more than we did, of the events that happened today.
Right.
So the good news is we are moving right along. The better news is that everybody got a show today, and that was interesting, and it went away, and that's the end of that, and we're all still here.
Mm-hmm.
So, as we said, eventful, I guess you would say yes on our side of it, uneventful on their side, other than the fact they're scrambling like crazy to see if they got anything, because they don't know really how that works.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are they going to get something? Like, do we just have to wait till it's over? Will it happen a little later? We don't know. What are we supposed to expect?
Yeah.
So hopefully now they understand, maybe I know they watch our news, but maybe they'll understand, well, this is where you should have been.
Yeah.
But they're still dependent on something else to create that kind of destruction.
Mm-hmm.
They did spend a little time this weekend near Montauk, as you know, I think that was on Friday.
Right.
And so, I mean, I guess there was some kind of effort. Now, the other thing that's circulating about that game they were playing there is, according to the alt media, there is a new group they call the Red Hats.
So not the white hats. Now we've got the red hats.
Now you've got the red ones. Yes.
Okay.
And the red ones were allegedly the cause of the earthquakes.
So is this kind of the alleged boogeyman that they're blaming stuff on now, or is this an actual group of people?
There were people there. There were humans there for sure. I don't know what they're doing. They seemed like they made it out like the earthquake was a good thing, and for some reason, some of them were, and don't worry, because the good military is going to come save you and protect you, bring you food and water. So, I don't know. I think they're just so used to, creating fictitious enemies and fighting their own selves.
Yeah.
So they can come out the savior.
Yeah. So who's reporting on the red hats? Where did that come from?
I've seen it on a couple of news sites.
Okay.
Rumor Mill News. I've seen it on YouTube. I've seen it a couple of different places. It was pointed out to me by somebody else. I don't have time for watching a lot of videos and stuff. But yeah. Yep. There's now the Red Hats, and they're saviors too.
Lovely.
That's okay. I think there's a group of people, ladies. There's a ladies group. It's predominantly a U.S. thing. They call themselves the Red Hats, and they wear purple dresses and red hats. And when I am old, I shall wear purple or something. It's like a line in a book. Yeah. I don't think it's them, though. They don't strike me as that type of grandma.
The whole thing's so weird.
I know.
Did Q ever reset their clock? Are they still on 0?
The last I had looked, no, there was no reset of their clock.
So I wonder if that's just gone now. The person that was resetting.
I don't know. It died for a few days, and then they get a bright idea, and it comes back. Yes, it is still not reset as of this moment.
Mm-hmm.
Thought I'd look at it for you, but nope, still no reset of Q, no nothing. Nope. But they'll probably get a wild hair and think of something exciting. But the good news is that, they don't know what to expect, where to go, what to do. And even if they did, there's nobody behind them to do it for them anyway.
Now, I know you were busy fighting the bad guys today, but do you have any indication that the eclipse did anything positive for our environment? The reason I'm asking is I was watching a video from Marina Jacoby, and I think she posted it a couple days ago, I want to say. But she was channeling, and someone asked a question. It was like a live Q&A, and asked about what was going to happen during the eclipse. And she was talking about algae being formed in the ocean, positive algae that was going to transform the ocean in a positive way. She was also talking about negative ions, I believe she said, in the air. That was going to transform the air to make the air more breathable, better for our planet. But have you seen anything like that, or any indication that the actual eclipse is changing the physicality of our planet?
Well, I don't think it's the eclipse per se. I think it's the change that we're talking about. So when we talk about things, we talk about light, we talk about consciousness, we talk about a lot of things. But in scientific terms, which she tends more to be on a scientific level, there are science, not science that that they publicize for us little people.
Sure.
But science, from a science standpoint, it is a known fact that there is a specific type of algae that will actually eat pollutants and toxins in the ocean. Right. That's a fact. They are aware of it. Matter of fact, it was something that was suggested during the oil spill. This was several years ago now, that happened in the Gulf. Remember that? And you can't talk about that. That's classified. I'm like, well, how is it classified? You got oil in the ocean. You want to clean it up, right? Allegedly. Maybe you don't, and here's how you do it. Very simple. So is there such a thing? Absolutely, there is such a thing. Is it possible to utilize that in the oceans to clean the oceans? Yes, it absolutely is. Is it going to deploy all on its own? I don't know. I could see something like that happening. I don't think it's something that would happen all on its own. It would probably, on a scientific level, I would say it would be the negative ions. Okay, so negative ions have nothing to do with being negative energy. Okay, so just to clear that up real quick. So a negative ion requires a positive charge to bind together.
Right.
And we, as people, have always had in the past both positive and negative ions. It means that, in order for them to bind together, and make life, so to speak, in energy, we would have had both. If you've ever heard some people use ionic air filters as an example, because it pulls the toxins out of the air. So think about what that could do if it was happening on a worldwide scale. Now, I'm going to bet you any amount of money there's going to need to be a mechanism that's going to have to take place behind that. Not to say it's not possible to happen quickly, or that it could happen once all of the ions are already filtering into the planet.
Yeah.
I mean, could it in effect clear pollutants and those things from the air? It actually could. It actually could. The reformation of molecules, I mean, a source is always perfect. So if it's coming from source, I'm sure it'll be right. But, are they going to try to interfere with that? I do know that there were some experiments that were allegedly launched today. I can't remember by who. I think it was by NASA.
The rockets? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, and then spraying aerosols into the sky.
Yeah.
In order to conduct an experiment. And I'm not sure if that was related to this or what that was all about either.
A lot of people are reporting an uptick in chemtrails. I even saw one right above my house yesterday, and I never see them like super close to where I live, but one was literally right above my house. And I was like, wow, oh my gosh. So that was just yesterday. So people are reporting an uptick in all of that.
We have them here too.
Eclipse.
Yep. Yep. All probably in preparation to appease their gods. And one thing I did notice, this is just for myself personally, until I figured out a way to clear it out today. But, even on Friday's news, you heard me sniffling and that kind of thing. I don't have a cold. I just thought it was seasonal allergies, because I get seasonal allergies sometimes. I'm like birch trees and those types of things, are not my friend. But now I'm kind of like looking back on it. I'm like, even when I've had seasonal allergies, they're usually not that bad, unless I'm like literally, wading through pollen, cleaning up right around the trees that, that aren't really my best friend. But even then, I mean, not to the extreme that I did for a couple of days.
Yeah.
I mean, no fever, no nothing, it was just constant sneezing.
We have that in our house too, actually. Now that you say that, my girls were feeling a little out of it. They actually didn't go to school today because they were feeling not so great. And we had like the sniffles in the house and headaches. I had headaches. But I actually didn't even connect it to anything that was going on outside. I thought maybe it was related to Eclipse stuff, but didn't connect it to chemtrail. But yeah, I've had headaches for a couple of days. They're gone now. I haven't had anything today.
See, I attributed the headache, right? Because I did have, it was a pretty rough day. I had a few rough days this weekend, not going to lie. The whole essence thing, that's what I attribute it to, because anytime someone's using your energy, your essence, and your consciousness to achieve a goal somewhere else, which happens to humans all the time, really it does, more so than you would have thought it did in the past. But when they're directly focused on you, it does drain you. It gives you a headache. You feel terrible. It can make you feel cold, like get chills and that kind of thing. And as it does with humans as well. So, in general, when we're having something happen. So I can't help but wonder, maybe it was more widespread than I thought.
Maybe.
Yeah. Maybe what they were spraying was not their normal stuff. Maybe it was something else, some way to extract the energy from people, where people were allergic to it, apparently. So, well, hopefully, I don't know what they're going to do from here on out as far as the deep state remaining people that didn't die in the last 3 days. As of now, at the time of this recording, which is very late to get the news out, so I apologize for that, they are feverishly looking to see if they got something. They're hitting switches, buttons, scanning, looking, seeing if any of their stuff came back, hacking the crap out of computers to see if there's anything there. Did they get any money? There's the other one. Did they overtake the Alpha system? There's another one. And number one, that is also a fallacy as well, because yes, did they have the ability to, did some of the gods, so to speak, as they call them, have access to some parts of Alpha in the past? Yes, they did. In the past. It has been over a decade, if not more, since they had any access to that. I think it pretty much ended in 2007, and that's even for the non-humans that they worked for.
Right.
So, the thought process and the comments that were circling around the deep state is that by the eclipse, they were going to have access to the Alpha system and they were going to have full control and all this other stuff. But absolutely not. No, it would have never happened full control anyway.
Yeah.
Whether they know it or not, they were going to claim the golden chalice. That's what they were going to do. They just didn't know what they were going to do. But even then, you can only bind it. You can't control it. Right. You just have the ability to utilize the energy of source essence. That's it. So a successful eclipse. We all made it. We're all still here. Now we don't know what the alt media is going to talk about here on out. Might take a few days until they figure out what else to say. Not sure. Meanwhile, moving forward.
There was no red dust or anything, just to clear the air, no pun intended. No red dust or anything is covering the planet, causing any kind of bio-warfare issues. Nothing like that happened, right?
No red dust, no red mercury, no harvest, no earthquakes. Matter of fact, even on Fox News last night, and someone had sent me a clip, they allegedly said, according to this clip that I saw, so it was in like on Instagram or something like that. And they said that they were talking about the 4.8 earthquake that happened on the East Coast. And they said, well, it's not over yet because we have the eclipse earthquake coming, quote unquote, on Fox News. I'll pull the clip and I'll send it to you, Sunny, but to post it if you want to quote it and you run down, when you do it.
Wow. Now they can see into the future and know what earthquakes are coming and how to attribute them.
Well, they know what they were supposed to be reporting.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, gosh, it's like 9/11 all over again.
I know, and then every single time there is a possibility of the SSP operatives gaining control over something or another, they are obviously planned for Trump's funeral and Trump's death. And then, cause it's a cash cow for them. It's all about the cash. It's not so they had to quickly call all the news stations and retract all that data. I know. Wouldn't you wait to see if you're successful? It's like buying a lottery ticket and then getting a Ferrari or something. Why would you do that? Wouldn't you just wait to see if you won first?
You would think. That's not how they roll.
Well, they're always used to getting everything they want.
That's true.
Let's call them the black spoon babies. Not the silver spoon, but the black spoon babies, They're always spoon-fed death and destruction whenever they want it.
Yeah. So you said, as of this recording, anti-source, the process of complete separation hasn't happened fully yet, has it?
The process at the source level has happened.
Okay.
The process throughout the entire multiverse is a process.
Okay. And how long will that take, or do we not know?
I don't know, actually.
Okay.
It's in Source's time. There's a lot of celebration going on around there at the moment. So it's kind of hard to get a word in edgewise.
Like from other beings, you mean, celebrating?
Well, there are beings, that's where the souls live, right? Yeah. Souls live with Source. And then, of course, your biblical version of angels.
Yeah.
live there, so there's folks up there.
Yeah.
He's not alone.
Yeah.
I would definitely say there's a celebration going on up there right now.
Nice. Okay.
And it's kind of hard to get in a word edgewise. The last time this happened to me, I couldn't get a word in for 3 days.
Well, there is a big number with source, so I get it.
It took me 3 days to get an answer. I mean, I go up there, everybody's like, yay, party, it's not like they weren't talking to me. They didn't ignore me or anything. It wasn't like the phone cut off. They took the phone off the hook and partied for 3 days. I could go there, no problem. But it was just like, yay,
Oh, to be a fly on the wall, Kim. Man.
Well, go yourself. They're partying. Join the party.
No, it sounds like fun to me.
I know. Have some cake. Not that there's cake up there. Well,
It's made of light.
Have some light cake.
Light cake. That's what they mean by light. Cake.
No. That was cheesy, wasn't it? That was pretty bad.
Okay.
It was the first thing that came to my mind. I didn't write down jokes, and I don't script this stuff, obviously. So
yeah,
I write down some bullet points, make sure that I cover all the bases, and so yeah, you got a cheesy joke from Kim. There you go.
So you said that based on the information that you have now, you are optimistic that this clearing could, and removal of the anti-source from source,
the
binding. And that still has
at
to
a molecular level.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that still has to trickle throughout the multiverse. But you are confident at this point that could impact the transfer of funds. Are you expecting to do more testing at some point for that? Or what are your plans there?
Oh, yeah, definitely. We're going to see how it looks tomorrow, see how close we are, at least even percentage wise. To this finishing. So remember this change, I know we've talked about a lot of stuff, but I want everybody to understand this is about the creation of matter itself on a molecular level where there is no more binding. Right. So it's not about bringing in the light to the planet. That's been happening. It's not about the essence. It's not about consciousness bindings. This is the creation of matter in a 3D and throughout, I guess you would say, to some degree, in the third density on a molecular level. So to put it into scientific terms, that is what we're seeing change. So, so we're ever hopeful. It'll, you put in a good word with source yourself and other people and say, could you speed this up? We, especially here in America, we don't have a whole lot of patience. I myself did not get in the patience line when I left.
Yeah.
I opted for the common sense line. It was much shorter. So, so we'll probably, we're ever vigilant right now. They're a little cray cray. By tomorrow, I expect them to be full on losing their mind. Which is fine. There really wasn't a whole lot of it left over there anyway, based on what they continue to do. Yeah. When God wants to punish you, he takes your mind, doesn't it? Isn't it written somewhere?
Yeah. There are stories, at least in the Bible, about that for sure. King Saul. Yeah.
See, there you go. Well, that about wraps up our Eclipse recap report for today's Monday,
April 8th. All right.
There you go. Thank you, Sunny.
Want to share